One of the people injured in a major accident north of Ferdinand has died. More on that, plus Jasper's home football stadium is a step closer to a new playing surface, and Father John Begelin discusses the Holy Family Church picnic tonight on Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. We begin tonight with tragic news as a Jasper man involved in an SUV versus UTV crash north of Ferdinand has died from his injuries. In a news release, DuBois County Sheriff's deputies say that 71-year-old Leroy Whitty of Jasper succumbed to his injuries at St. Mary's Hospital in Evansville yesterday afternoon. Deputies say he died at 1:45 p.m. from head and chest injuries. Whitty was the passenger aboard a UTV being driven by 74-year-old Edgar Ebert of Ferdinand at the time of the accident on State Road 162 near County Road 815 South. Sheriff's deputies say the accident occurred at around 12:45 this past Thursday afternoon when Ebert, who had been going northbound on the east shoulder of the highway, tried to make a hard left turn across traffic to go west on County Road 815 South. The UTV was hit in the driver's side by a northbound SUV driven by 29-year-old Sally Stout of Jasper. The impact happened about 20 yards south of the intersection, and authorities say the two vehicles continued sliding northwest, finally coming to rest in a ditch. Whitty was initially taken to Jasper's Memorial Hospital before being airlifted to St. Mary's. Ebert, who was airlifted from the scene to St. Mary's, remains in the hospital and is still listed in critical condition. Jerry Brewer Alumni Stadium may soon have a new playing surface. Last night, the Greater Jasper School Board approved the hiring of Evansville-based VPS Architecture to start coming up with plans and specs for a new artificial turf field. Plans for the field had been put on hold earlier this year while the Jasper football boosters continued to work on raising money for the turf. Now, the school board did change course a little bit on this project. The board decided to kick in upwards of $100,000 from its rainy day fund after previously deciding that the project would solely be funded by donations. Installation of the playing field would cost around $800,000, and school officials say the football boosters were able to raise most of the money needed to cover that cost. Greater Jasper Superintendent Dr. Tracy Lori says additional needs contributed to the board's change of heart.
As mentioned, as a part of the project, I think there may be some additional associated costs with security and maybe some need for additional upkeep of the track after construction has gone on. We are in a position that if we are able to save maintenance costs from year to year, that money could be expended here up front to help offset the cost so that we could really move the project forward.
One of the biggest selling points for the new field has been that it would be a multi-purpose use. Jasper High School Athletic Director Andy Noblet told the board that other sports teams and the Jasper Marching Wildcats would likely use the facility for practices or events if an artificial surface were to be installed. Noblet says many of the other school groups have thus far supported the turf effort.
They have discussions with me. They let me know that it is something that they would definitely utilize, whether it be once a week or even on a daily basis. And you know, we look forward to providing a surface that everyone can use. So when it's there, I'm sure that we're going to utilize it to its max.
The new playing surface would last between 8 and 10 years. School officials say the artificial turf would also require less maintenance than the current surface. The school corporation spent $22,000 on maintenance for the field last year alone. Of course, this project has not been without its stumbling blocks. The project was in question after the school board voiced their concerns about a potential link between the crumb rubber, which makes up the underlayer of the artificial turf, and cancer. Those concerns were fueled by a report from NBC News last October, but those reports were dispelled during a workshop held at Jasper High School back in December. The Friends of Otwell group finally has its leadership organized. Last night, the group held elections for a board of directors. The board, which will consist of 7 members, are Mike Houch, Bob Rhodes, Josh Bird, Travis Troutman, David Yoakum, Hannah Hill, and Elizabeth Luff. Luff will also help with legal concerns that the group may have. The board held its first meeting following the general meeting, which was held last night at the Otwell Community Center. Rhodes, who has led the Friends of Otwell efforts over the last few weeks, is continuing as the group's chairman. Rhodes says setting up the group's leadership was a big step.
It's going to make things, a lot of things happen a lot more fast, a lot more quickly, and it's going to give us a real leg up for the next month.
Now, the group has several things to accomplish in the upcoming months to help keep Otwell Elementary open beyond this year. Rhodes says out of those, there is one thing that thus far is getting the highest priority.
I'm not sure that I'd call them milestones, but our biggest milestone is the completion of the charter request, and it's getting closer and closer every day.
Rhodes says the group is currently looking at a first draft of the charter, thus it's only a matter of time before it's completed. There were other items brought forth during last night's meeting, and one of those was the group's mission statement. Rhodes says the main goal will be to keep all of the group's cards on the table and be open about the effort with everybody. The mission statement will be up for a vote at the next regular meeting, which will be held sometime next month. Finally, Rhodes encouraged those on hand to look at a few sample letters of endorsement. Rhodes says the group went to Duggar Union to learn more about their recent charter effort. Duggar Union Community School made its debut this school year as a charter school after a more than 2-year fight to save it, as the school was fighting declining enrollment and revenue, much as Otwell is dealing with now. Duggar Union's charter will run for up to 7 years and is being sponsored by Grace College. This Saturday will be a chance for you to get rid of any of those old, unwanted prescription medicines. The Drug Enforcement Administration and Indiana State Police are partnering to sponsor the 10th nationwide prescription drug take-back initiative. The goal of the initiative is to prevent the abuse of prescription drugs and theft of those drugs through proper disposal. Now, you can drop off your unused, unwanted medications at either the Jasper or Evansville State Police posts anytime between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Saturday. Other collection sites are being set up nationwide for expired, unused, and/or unwanted medicines. Medicines that are collected will then be disposed in an environmentally friendly manner. Of course, the program is for liquid and pill medications only. No new or used needles will be accepted for disposal. The Drug Take Back Day program is free and anonymous and has been successful everywhere, including here locally. A similar program held earlier this year in cooperation with TRICAP and other law enforcement agencies saw 329 pounds of drugs collected from more than 300 residents. More than 75 pounds of plastic and 11 pounds of cardboard medication packaging were also collected and recycled. Those wishing to vote in the upcoming November general election are reminded that the deadline to register is just around the corner. Officials with the DuBois County Clerk's Office say voter registration will come to an end on Monday, October 5th, when the DuBois County Courthouse and the Clerk's Office closes their doors at 4 o'clock. Or you can get registered online at indianavoters.com until midnight. DuBois County Clerk Bridget Jarbo is also reminding voters that this year's election is a municipal election and it's only open to residents of the cities of Jasper, Huntingburg, and the town of Ferdinand, and voters must live within the limits of those respective communities to vote. Jarbo says if someone is not sure of their voting eligibility, they can go to indianavoters.com and see if they do in fact live in the city or town's limits. You can also contact the DuBois County Clerk's Office at 812-481-7035. Jarbo says absentee ballots are available by mail or by calling the office. On a final note, Jarbo says a public test of the Microvote Infinity voting machines will take place next Friday, October 2nd in the public access room of the clerk's office in the DuBois County Courthouse. The test begins at 8 o'clock and is conducted by the DuBois County Election Board. Jarbo says board members will be physically testing at least 3 of the random machines to ensure that every candidate receives votes correctly. She says there will also be sample absentee ballot cards counted to once again make sure that every candidate on the ballot gets a vote. Jarbo says the test will also verify that votes are being counted correctly. And as we head to break tonight, the Pope arrived in the United States yesterday and received a rousing welcome from the Sisters of St. Benedict at Ferdinand. The sisters rang the bells to welcome Pope Francis to the United States, both church and handbells. Now, Pope Francis landed at Joint Base Andrews near Washington, D.C. just before 4 o'clock Eastern Time yesterday. He was officially welcomed to the U.S. on the South Lawn of the White House earlier today. Pope Francis is the 4th head of the Catholic Church to visit the United States. His visit comes some 50 years after Pope Paul VI was the first pontiff to visit the U.S. Weather is coming up on the other side of this break.